An Ancient Weapon Called Human, Chapter 6, by CnRhin. Lizra rose the next morning, opened the door to her quarters, and peered quietly into the common room. Tic-Tac was still resting on the table in the center of the room. "Good morning," came the robotic voice from the small black box. "Oh, I'm sorry, did I wake you?" "Not at all, Captain Lizra. I don't need to sleep in the same sense that you do." "Huh, so what did you do while we were asleep?" "I used your ship's network connections to see what the rest of the galaxy looked like. Your new homeworld is stunning, by the way. I would like to visit it one day and see it for myself." "Can you even do that? I mean, is there any difference between pictures and actually being there for you?" "No, however, I felt that was the polite thing to say, and it seemed to fit into the conversation naturally. But I would like to see more of it, that much is true." "Okay, so there was nothing stopping him from lying like the few AI programs used by the Corps." Lizra made a mental note of that before carrying on. "Is Human still mad at you? I would have thought the two of you would be spending more time together after so long apart. I believe he no longer sees my company as necessary. But that's fine. Let him be like that. I have limitless entertainment now that I have a connection to a greater network. If he wants to sit in the cargo hold and brood all day by himself, then that is his prerogative. I would say he can't keep it up forever, but knowing him, he very well could. I'd like to see you two make up. You said it yourself that you were his best friend. I'm sure you'd both be happier that way." Knowing what version of myself was his best friend, I am content with the knowledge that I am someone better now. "I don't need his validation," Tic-Tac stated. And even though he was just a computer program, Lizra could tell that he didn't actually believe his own words. "I'm going to go check in with Zat. I hope you have a great day." "And you as well, madam." Lizra stepped onto the bridge and handed over the interface pad to Zate, having spent the entire night dwelling on what to make of the information. "You can go ahead and remove it now. I want network access back. I read it, and I've decided that I do not agree with your conclusion." "You don't agree with our conclusion?" Zate let the words out slowly, as if they were struggling to compute them. "What is your reasoning? We presented all the information. It was clear, concise." "I don't think you know both sides of the story. Yes, those things in the videos were the same as Human, but from what I talked with Tic-Tac, you cannot trust the ramblings of a machine that has been inoperable for 1,000 years. Captain, when we process information, every one of us debates it for what feels like days, but would only be minutes to you. When we come to a conclusion, it is not incorrect. It is the product of intense deliberation that would take others countless hours. We implore you to rethink your decision. And as the captain, my decision is final. I'm sorry, Zati, there's more to it than you think you know. If you are referring to your conversation with the program, we were listening and have accounted for his recollection of events. And yet, we have still decided that they pose too great a threat to be brought into contact with the rest of the galaxy. Then you will have to come to terms with my order. Tic-Tac and Human have no possible way of being in connection with the events that transpired on the outer worlds. They were isolated the entire time those recordings took place. And what of their time on your world? I think that they regret whatever part they may have played in that tragedy. It seems like whatever they did there took a toll on the both of them, and they are unlikely to do something like that again. Respectfully, Captain, just because they say they will not do it again, does not. I will not engage in this discussion any further, Zat. Please respect my decision and put your faith in me. Not only as your captain, but as your friend, I am asking you to trust my judgment. Understood, Captain. I do authorize you to continue gathering as much information as you can on Human's counterparts and work to decrypt the files you found regarding the Illyrian collapse. We will see to it, Captain, Zate stated as they went back to work at the terminals. The scav continued its journey to the Quori system without any further complications. Upon reaching the system, Lizra ordered them to be set down in one of the larger cities on the far side of the planet. Once safely down, Argel and Human joined Lizra and Tic-Tac in the common room. Zati had elected to stay behind and keep an eye on the ship while the remainder of the crew went into town. "Captain, would it not be better for us to have landed in Quoris? It is the shipping hub and capital after all." "Don't worry," Lizra replied, glancing over a small list displayed on her interface pad. "They should have everything we need here, and it'll be less crowded." She put the pad away and looked over her crew. "All right, Argol, you have the shopping list now. You might not know what to look for exactly, and Tic Tac requested a few things to be added to the shopping list, so he'll be joining you on this. Captain, you can't be going out on your own. I won't be there to protect you if anything goes wrong. And on top of that, you're sending me out with the slip drive's cousin?" he argued, gesturing down at the little black box on the table. "And I do not wish to spend the day with someone who cannot tell a water purifier from a waste purifier," it quipped back. "The two of you will have to get along, and you should use this as an opportunity to get to know one another better. It will do you some good to be productive for once rather than arguing. Human will accompany me for this day trip, and he can assure you of my safety throughout it. I will send updates every few hours. If anyone so much as lays a claw on the captain while I'm away, Human, well, they better not lay a claw on her," Argol warned, looking over at Human, who seemed rather uninterested in the Injuran's threat. "Right, off you go, gentlemen. And when you come back, you both better be having a good time." Lizra and Human were now alone in the common room once Argol picked up Tic Tac and departed. She could already hear the two bickering at one another before stepping off the loading ramp. "They'll be fine," she assured herself. Shifting her attention to Human now, she needed to make sure his presence wouldn't bring up unwanted attention when they were planetside. "Firstly, we're going to need to cover you up a little bit. Nobody's seen someone like you around here, and we don't want people getting curious. I've taken the liberty of picking out some of Argol's clothes for you to wear. They might be a little baggy, but they'll get the job done. Which of these outfits do you think you'll look best in?" she inquired, laying a few out on the table for Human to see. "He doesn't have anything less colourful. Colourful is what's seen as attractive for his species. Personally, I think the red would be perfect. It's a nice contrast to your armour. If that's what you think is best." "Perfect," Lizra said as she threw the robes at Human, and he awkwardly put them on. Once the red fabric was around him, the black armour plating shimmered, the dark plating now matching the crimson cloth exactly. "Oh, well, now that's too much red. Can you turn that off by chance? Right, I forgot about that." Once Human had shifted back to his natural darker complexion, Lizra gave him another piece of fabric to wrap around his helmet. "This is supposed to be used for insulating hot objects in the engine room, but I figured you could use it like a scarf of some sort." Once he was dressed for the occasion, Lizra padded over to him and motioned for Human to follow. "That just about does it. I have lots on our itinerary today, Human. Tic Tac has already given me the rundown on what is and is not safe for you to consume, so you don't have to worry about that. First, we're going to try some food, then we're going to see the balloon races. It's prime weather for them today." Lizra kept going on about everything she had planned for the two of them. During her monologue, Human stood there looking over at the small red and white creature, hopping up and down with excitement as she led the way. She started walking down the loading ramp, and he quickly followed suit. The two of them exited the spaceport and made their way into the town, the small Illyrian guiding the Human through the busy streets. It wasn't the largest city by any means, but like most in the outer worlds, it had seen little development since their introduction to the core. It consisted of many spherical white and blue buildings, some stacked on top one another to create pod-like skyscrapers. The streets below were reserved for foot traffic, while mag lines above guided various types of transports throughout the town. As they were walking down the path, another pedestrian, one native to Quori, nearly crashed into the captain as he quickly exited a building onto the street. He hadn't bothered to look down as he burst out onto the road. Before he could make it any further, Human reached out, grabbing the innocent man by his long neck in a swift motion and lifted him off the ground. "No, no, no. It was an accident. It's quite all right. It happens all the time," Lizra yelped, pleading with Human to let him go. The poor man was struggling, trying in vain to pry off the vice of a grip around his neck. If he went any further, he would have stepped on your tail. How is that an accident? Human growled, glaring at the man he had trapped in his hand. He didn't mean to. Please, you're hurting him. Human released his grip, and the man dropped to the ground, gasping for air. He quickly ran off across the street, pushing past other bystanders to get away from the terrifying creature that had nearly strangled him. Get your puny CnRhin under control, freaks. One of the bystanders spat on the ground as he passed by them. Human reached down and gently picked up the captain, placing her on his shoulder. Thanks. I usually ride on Argyl's shoulder anyway. I just didn't know if it would be rude of me to ask you. You're fine. You should be much safer this way. If they want to touch you up there, they'd have to go through me now. I'm glad you're taking my safety seriously. The galaxy can be a dangerous place for someone of my stature. I have to admit it was rather rude of him not to look down. It's the very least he could do. I hope you didn't hurt him too severely. He's lucky I didn't close my fist. He'll be fine. Maybe some bruising. Thank goodness, I was really expecting you to take his head off the way you were glaring at him. Why? Because that's what I was made to do? No, of course not, Lizra apologized, leaning forward to look into Human's visor. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant you looked very angry when he almost hurt me. I know you're more than just some weapon. I like to think that too. The pair continued on their way, stepping into a large market on the outskirts of the city. Large vaulted ceilings and massive doors facilitated easy movement of people and merchandise. The pathways were lined with different vendors offering a variety of produce from all across the Quori sector. Lizra pointed Human in the direction she wanted to go, and he followed her guidance until they came across a stall sporting various species of fish and sea-inspired cuisine. Tic-Tac told me that the fish from this planet would be one of the healthiest things for you, and they shouldn't have any proteins or compounds that would be detrimental to your health. Thoughtful. So these things were alive once? Well, yes, but they aren't like you or me. They weren't capable of thinking or feeling anything other than the desire to eat, reproduce, and survive. So don't think that you'd be eating a creature like me. Lizra laughed as she hopped down from Human's shoulder and peered through the glass at the selection of fish. They prepare it in a special way here on Quori. It's always served ice-cold. They freeze little pieces with liquid nitrogen and then shatter them into even smaller crystals. Would you like to try some? Maybe when we're back on the ship. I don't know how I feel about taking my helmet off in a place I barely know. My senses would be dulled and I wouldn't be able to keep us safe. Quori is completely safe. We're about as far from the core here as you can get. It's fine, I can wait. Okay, we'll get some to go then. But you better enjoy it when we get back. I didn't bring you all the way out here just so you could keep an eye on me. Lizra purchased the food, along with a small metal refrigeration box to keep it fresh. As they made their way around the market, Lizra kept stopping and getting talked into buying more and more. By the time they left, Human was carrying 2 of the ice boxes on his other shoulder, along with a sack slung across his back filled to the brim with other cultural staples of Quori. Lizra kept them on schedule, going about everything she had planned for them that day. DDDAs they neared the end of their excursion. The once yellow sky of Quori slowly faded into a deep crimson red. The red giant that the planet orbited settled on the horizon in a spectacular display that bathed the white buildings in its red glow. The shafts of light reflected off the windows at a precise angle that made the city appear to be glittering. And that is why it's one of my favorite architectural designs. As the day goes on, all the buildings change color with the movement of their sun. Stunning, isn't it? The town itself was nestled in a valley that was cradled between 2 large cliffs to the north and south. The duo were making their way up a small path on the outskirts of the city. It wound its way through rocky draws and steep chutes before finally bringing them to the tops of the northern cliffs. Why are we all the way out here? Aren't the others going to be waiting for us at the ship by now? Human questioned. Don't worry, we're almost there. Keep it up. There's one last thing that I want to show you. To be continued.